Diego Cortez.
Adam Schoenfeld.
Welcome to The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. We've had 2 weeks of Jason Mercier.
It's not enough.
He has passed both weeks with flying colors, with interesting analysis and thoughtful commentary.
1 week for each million earned in the past
right.
couple of years.
For every $1 million tournament won,
yeah, you get another episode.
1 week on The Scoop. If you missed the first two parts, they're on Card Player TV, and we're going to roll into part 3. I think with a lot of players, when they do that move where they count out the chips and then they come out with a raise later, with a high number of times, it really is like a whole act. But in his case, that's just not part of his repertoire. With like an unsophisticated player, it may be, okay, I'll raise, and they
right, yeah, no, I
didn't
think that he was doing that. Like, oh, I'm gonna call you. All right, let's raise with like a set.
But his call, he looked so confused and upset.
Yeah.
I do think he was confused and upset.
But it may be.
He's human also. That's
It may also be that, as you mentioned, he doesn't know you, and you hadn't shown a lot of hands. So at that point, there's also some degree of a curiosity factor, or just kind of like, I don't really know what range to assign to this guy, so maybe I'll call. If he had more familiarity with your play, then he'd give you more credit for having one or the other.
I mean, I think the hand would just play out differently. He'd probably just call flop and, maybe fold turn, maybe call me down. But
what was that experience like playing in that game? Because it seemed tough to me when you came in. Those guys had already been playing for a while. You're like the new guy. You come in cold, and maybe we were talking to Lex Veldhouse when he came in. There was like, here comes another tournament player. There's kind of a club there where those guys have played each other for years, and you guys come in. Were you comfortable, or did you perceive?
I mean, it was fine. It was fun playing on a show. I was a little nervous at first, but not like. I don't think it affected my play really.
If you had one bullet and you lose all your chips like in the second hand, you just have to get up and go after two hands.
Yep, that's
that'd be a bummer.
I probably actually should have shoved on the first hand when I opened with twos and there was a straddle and Dwan 3-bet me, and I could have easily just like shoved 200K and picked up the 20-something thousand that was out there and shown a deuce. And then everything would have been different, but
for the rest of our lives.
Yeah,
for all of us.
But I was just on one bullet and didn't really want to get it in with twos against jacks and look like a fish. So
that hand did concern me a bit in the sense that it was your first hand. Tom Dwan, on the show he's been raising and re-raising constantly. He raised, and then you didn't call, and I think one of the other players made a comment like, not even a call. Like that you wouldn't even take the flop at that point, and maybe in the other guys' minds they, put an image that you weren't going to, to mix it up unless you had a certain hand, which should have played to your favor in the Phil Ivey hand if that was the case.
Yeah, you would think that. But
maybe I'm overthinking the whole.
I don't mean to torture you also with that hand that you lost.
It's okay. I've talked about it probably more than any other hand by like 4 times as much. The amount of time that I've talked about that hand.
All right. On happier notes. You won a World Series bracelet last year in PLO. I was even more impressed by the fact that you also won a $5,000 H.O.R.S.E event at Bellagio last year, the 5 Diamond, which we think of kind of the new generation of players being PLO and no limit experts. And obviously those are your best games, but to win a H.O.R.S tournament is a big accomplishment.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't think it was necessarily that big of an accomplishment. It was kind of like a small field, 62 people.
Regardless.
It wasn't that great of a structured tournament. So,
but it's a $5,000 entry tournament.
You're saying you donked it?
I mean, I think I played well, but it wasn't like that tough of a field really.
How did you, at least if not gain expertise, gain skills in those games?
Just practice. Playing hands, playing online. I've recently been playing a ton of 8-game online, cash, 8-game cash, and doing well at that. So just was trying to get ready for the series, get ready for the 50K. Practice makes perfect, right? Although you can never be perfect at poker.
But mostly online practice rather than live.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to practice live besides like playing tournaments at the series for mixed games.
Well, we're playing at Bellagio where they have mixed
games.
games.
Yeah, I've done that, a few times. But a lot of times when you're traveling, you go to Europe and you can't play anything but no limit in PLO. So it's hard to get that much live experience. So you really have to play a decent amount online.
You alluded before to playing cash games online or bigger cash games. Most people probably are familiar with your tournament successes, but is that also important to you, or is that a big thing that's developing for you, playing high stakes against the guys who are well known?
Not necessarily. I mean, I don't try to go out there.
You've got the bankroll.
Yeah, I mean, I have the bankroll, and I think that I am good enough maybe to play against the best players, but there's no reason for me to want to play Phil Ivey heads up at 500 or 1K or whatever. So I'll only play in big games if I feel like I have an edge in that there's a bad player in the game or something like that. So
there's like a Mercier challenge.
No,
for example.
Probably not. No, maybe like some sort of tournament challenge, but for cash games, I'm just trying to improve my game and try to make money. So I'll play I'll play as big as I can if the game's good. So
last thing is, you've had enormous success in Europe. Maybe that's just kind of a fluky thing, but besides the fact that you've had success here too, but unlike a lot of players, I mean, you went over to Europe right away. You win 2 big tournaments there, an EPT tournament for over $1 million, I think, and then a high roller event. Mm-hmm. So is there anything other than the fact that you just happen to play a bunch of events, or is there a different style or different fields that plays to your strengths there?
I wouldn't say there's a different style, but I mean, sometimes the tournaments not exactly as tough as it is over here.
Europeans are just bad.
Well, Adam will translate your fanatic, which I respect.
Say that,
Europeans are crazy at the tables.
I mean, especially a couple of years ago when the EPT was still like getting going, and there was a lot of people that had not really played much poker, so the events were softer even than they are now. So I mean, I was fortunate enough to run really well, along with just play good a little bit, enough to win, and it was just kind of a coincidence that ran really good in Europe, and I don't know.
Anyway, thanks for coming on.
Thanks,
we know you're going to have a lot of success here at the World Series and
I
onwards.
Hope so.
But it's been very interesting talking to you. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Thanks for joining us on The Scoop, brought to you by Full Tilt Poker. Write to us at thescoop@cardplayer.com.